I'm just wondering, therefore, General Saab, you're the political mind, is it, who drove the daughter into contesting an election. You also joined the AAP.
Yes.
And then left it a few years ago.
I joined the AAP in 2013, primarily just we keep criticizing the politicians and people who govern us. I said, let's be there and let's be part of it to see what it's all about and can we contribute towards it. And at my age, I thought that I would be contributing towards their stance on national security, etc. But over a period of time, I found that our political parties are not interested in these issues. For them, it's basically politics and influencing people that's more important.
Winning elections.
Yes, winning elections. And they are not interested in national security or what's happening to the armed forces or reforms thereof. So I could make little contribution. And since I was not into that part of it to either I had no thirst for power, I had been an army commander, and once you're an army commander, you hardly want to be an MLA or an MP for that matter. Not that there's anything wrong with it. So eventually I found that I had little to contribute. Then, since I couldn't be active, so I disassociated myself about 2 years back.
So has the idealism gone? Are you still a member of the Aam Aadmi Party, or has the idealism over the years, like with many others, been diluted?
So I remain a member, and I still fundamentally believe the party carries much lesser baggage than any other party. And the ability to course correct is much more than any other party right now. And I do believe that the potential in the short term and the medium term is a lot. There is a huge lacuna in our political discourse and political playing field for an alternative party, for somebody who does things differently. Now, whether you can do that with considering that the tools with which you can fight back are being systematically destroyed, is something that remains to be seen.
So will you contest another election?
Absolutely.
Will I see Gul Panag versus Kiran Kher again?
That I don't know, but you will definitely see me contesting.
Okay, that's interesting. General Saab, you've said you've left politics in a way, at least electoral politics, so left the Aam Aadmi Party. But I was reading your very fine book that you've written on the Indian Army, and you are a general with very strong political thoughts. I've seen it in your tweets, in your articles. You, for example, believe the army should not be politicized. A serving army officer cannot have political alignments. You're against this neo-nationalism. In the book, you interestingly also speak about strongly against the army tying a Kashmiri to the jeep, an incident that got a lot of publicity. Do you feel in some way that army officers must express their political views even while not having political alignments? Is that possible?
I think this is the dilemma faced by almost all armed forces all over the world. In fact, in America also, it is a raging debate. And people say that how can an army officer who till yesterday was apolitical and today has suddenly been catapulted to be, to a senior sort of...
No, we've had General V.K. Singh, who army chief became a minister.
I'm coming to that. So now so it happens all the time. I mean, General Eisenhower, he just finished his military assignment and was straightway became a Republican candidate. So it's been happening. So this debate is always there. I think you can separate the two things out. After all, we all vote. Even in the armed forces, we vote. You have your preferences. You can vote for communists. You can vote for anybody. But you don't express it because you are supposed to give an impartial advice to the government in power. If you start identifying while in service with ideologies or with a particular political line, then your advice will become colored. And this is the biggest danger of a military getting politicized. Otherwise, once your job is over there, you had your inclinations which were kept dormant because of the rules, regulations and the requirement of service. And now that you're out of it, you should make a contribution.
Because you have strong views, whether it's the militarization of Kashmir, whether now it's in the context of China and how India is handling the border conflict. Every time I read you, I said, General has a mind of his own.
Well, I think what one should, what we all happen is that militaries always tend to be sure, dithering here and there. I mean, you just see what's in the news, that we have gone and secured some features, they came and this. It's very simple, if you ask me. We had to do a quid pro quo.
This is the China...
against China.
Yes.
And we have done it. So if you have to say it like that it was a requirement, we had to secure, and we have just gone up to the area which we had not secured, we had not been up to till 62. this is our area, and we have now gone and sat there. So we have gone and sat on the whole of Kailash range, not only at Blacktop, but over the Spangur Gap and right up to Rechinla. So it's an excellent thing. So
No,
say
but
so.
how many generals will say that the militarization of Kashmir is something that troubles you?
Yeah, it troubles us because there is no military solution for any insurgency. There is a steamroller solution. Okay, Sri Lanka has done it. Maybe at some other places it has been done, but a democracy like ours, with our culture and traditions, would we like to be a steamroller? And steamroller for on behalf of the government? I don't think so. That is right.